Oh, you know why? It's because that was the wrong one, but I think it's fine. I mean, it's displaying on screen, so it's fine. I just had two sources called Firefox. Okay. I have a very little bit of this lemon lime Gatorade is my last one. It's a classic. Can't go wrong. I do need this up somewhere. We'll put it over there. I think that's fine. Okay. Let's get into it. I did trim the list down to 5 categories because on my own spreadsheet I just score things out of 5, so it's easier for me that way. We'll start with the things I didn't play. You know, in Gamerade fashion, you get to skip one game out of every category. So for the red one, it was Scourge Hive. I wanted to play Scourge Hive. I still do want to. We'll put it on my list to play. I don't know if I'll stream it or not, but do want to knock it out sometime in the near future because watching Giga and Rio both play it, it looked really fun. It just was long. It was long, and I got scared getting here near the end of the month that I wouldn't have time to finish it. So opted for Arrow instead. But do want to come back to it for sure. In the blue category, I skipped Big Mountain. I don't think I've made any secret that I don't care for this game, which is fine. You know, other people love it. Sometimes I'm wrong, and that's okay, but it's not for me. So in general, if I have a game that I have played in a list, that I try to skip it just so I'm playing new stuff. So this probably would have been the case regardless, unless it was like something that I really, really liked from N64 Mania. It just, I don't know. I get the appeal of like you're just constantly kind of getting better, and to me it just feels more like the game kind of just lets you win at some point. I don't know. There's a clip from the original N64 Mania race where I'm in first place and I'm coming off of a jump. You can see the finish line, and then the computer just like lands in front of me out of nowhere and then takes the win. And that just kind of sums up my feelings about the game. I think it's just, it didn't really feel like I was doing anything. It felt like I was just limited until the game decided I had put enough into it to continue, and then it just lets you continue. It is a very good clip. But that's all right. Good to have the options. And then in yellow, it was Tony 2. So I have also played Tony 2 before. So like I was saying for Big Mountain, if I have played a game, usually want to skip it just so I play new stuff. I was initially going to be skipping Four Swords Adventures, just because I wasn't sure about making the multiplayer aspect work. So I was going to play it again and be fine to. I think I watched Rio play a little bit of it. It's fine. I think the only thing wrong with it is it's just worse than Tony Underground 1. It's just less about skating and more about the rolling down a hill in a shopping cart kind of stuff, doing like stunts and pranks instead. I am interested to see where Gamerade goes next year. with we've now played all 3 of the Tonys, the walking around Tonys, without going further into the future. Like, I think, you know, in like Project 8 and stuff like that, you can too, but I think that was a 360 game. I think that's what I had it on. So that might be too far up to like emulate reliably. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. So that's the 3 I didn't play. Yes, thank you, SafeC. It is a really good clip. I was big mad at a video game at the end of it. Oh yeah, the clip show is good. It's probably been enough time that we could put, you know, an update to it or something. There have been a lot of more good clips in the interim. I guess we're close enough to the end that like maybe there's just a final version. All right. I guess we'll just go in order from here. We'll start with Aero the Acrobat. So this was a late addition. Like I said, I was gonna play Scourge Hive, moved to Aero instead. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it has been. I don't know. I think there's been a handful of good ones, but just a less overall, but definitely some winners. But anyways, to Aero. I really did not like Aero. I think I was complaining just about the whole time I was playing it. Even with the infinite lives cheat, so this would have been like actually impossible just playing it vanilla, because it's a game that requires you, especially in the auto scrollers, but even within the other stages, like you're just expected to get to something new and die to figure out how to get past it, and then come back and do it again. Which is not good. It's not good. The auto scrollers were very, very long, and then required some like super precise, like basically just memorization. There was one of them that the one that you like swing up and down on a rail to dodge stuff, which I just pause buffered, and even pause buffering, like, it felt like it was so precise that there was like no way to do that otherwise. It's a fascinating game. Also, just even the regular, so putting aside the auto scrollers, like the regular platforming, of which, like, especially when you get to the final boss climb, you have to do a ton of. You have to do this like you have a corkscrew jump that's like a double jump that like sends you up in a diagonal direction. So you would think that you could just press that direction and jump in that direction. And in fact, the manual, which I had open for this, tells you you can do exactly that. But it's lying, because you can't. What direction you go is influenced by whether you're moving up or down in your jump. And Aero travels up for a very short amount of time in his jump. So like it's really, really difficult to make it like go the direction you want to. You have to plan ahead and then also like execute it really, really well. It's I don't know. When I was watching Shoehorse play it, I remember thinking like, man, he is missing that jump a lot. Like, it doesn't look like it should be that hard, but like it's being missed so consistently that like surely there's just more to it. And then I played it and I was like, oh yeah, no, it's it is all that and more. I totally understand. So I did not like Aero at all. I'm putting it in D, no question. This was just a really bad, really hard game. And I was very happy to be done with it and not be playing it anymore. Chicken Run was Also in red. Are these... Yeah, I guess from here they're just lined up by color, right? Yeah, okay. So Chicken Run was one of the first games that I played. I thought Chicken Run was not bad. I'm not gonna like die on the hill that like it's a great game, because it definitely has some flaws. But I think it was all right. I think it the stealth mechanics are not explained, which is kind of a problem. But like once I figured out what was going on with them, like you can't step into light, you can't step onto things that make noise. Like once you understand the rules that the game's expecting you to play by, it's really not that bad to get around. The mini games are kind of bad. I think the mashing mini game where you're oiling up the engine is terrible. I would like to meet the child who got through that in this children's video game, because like once you understand, kind of like the stealth, once you understand what to do, it's not that bad, but like it doesn't make any sense and it's not explained at all, so you just fail it like constantly. You're trying to mash the right buttons and it just doesn't, like the meters don't go up unless you fill the meters in the correct order, basically. Yeah, the trampoline mini game is rough too. I think so. That one, I think I didn't play it enough to confirm, but I think that you have some level of control over the trampoline, even though it feels like you really shouldn't because you're controlling the catapult. But like maybe it was just luck, but it felt like when it got stuck in the corner, if I pressed in the opposite direction, they would kind of come back on screen. But again, there's no reason for you to think to do that because it's not explained to you at all. Also in Act 3, having to go back for eggs over and over and over again. And then even if you like get all the items from an egg spot and then get caught and lose one, you've got to go get eggs again and then go back and get it again. It's a lot of repetition. You know, all that said, it took me like 3 hours. It's not like a long game, but like it is definitely padded out at the end. But I think it was fun. I put it in B. Eggs, so many eggs. All right, next is Thai Fu. I watched Shoehorse play this before I played it, and I had it kind of on in the second monitor, so I was not thinking that I was picking up too much, but apparently I did, because this one went pretty smoothly, I think, other than just a couple of like, there were some hardware issues where it was just crashing on one of the first levels, so I had to like swap retro cores, but once we got going, it was all right. A couple of the bosses were walls. The first boss was actually one of the hardest ones because he attacked so fast, and then the last boss, until I figured out like the cheese on him, was kind of tough too. But I thought this was good. It's a beat 'em up kind of, and I thought the pacing of the game was really good. So like you start out with just a couple of moves, and then you play a few levels, and then you like fight a boss, meet a new teacher, and that teacher will teach you a new style, which like adds a couple of moves to your move list, and then a few more levels, and then another teacher, and kind of repeats like that. So like it doesn't give you a ton of stuff right off the bat, but it just slowly kind of builds over time in a way that like was kind of satisfying. All the combos were super simple. Basically everything was just square, 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 and then triangle, but like from different like poses or whatever, from different like starting positions. And then, but like even with that simplicity, like the different combos were useful in different ways. Like I ended up using a lot of the leopard style moves against the last boss because I don't know exactly why. I think that it just has a different, like the animation hits him in different places, so it sort of disregarded the guarding that he was doing. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think it did feel like the story felt a little bit weird tonally, because like it felt like it was trying to tell two separate stories of like One is this kind of serious martial arts story of like you're seeking out the dragon that killed your family, and you find the spirit of your father, and he's like teaches you his ways and tells you to seek out other members of the clan or whatever. And then it's also like very just like edgy 90s, like at the end it's like put the FU in kung fu, and like I don't know, it just, I think either one is fine, but it felt very odd to be like going back and forth. There was a little bit of whiplash, I think. But overall, I think this game was really fun to play. I enjoyed it. I think I would put it in an A. I think it was very fun. Buzz is next. This was the very first game that I played. I liked Buzz a lot. I think it was even though you were doing the same things, like every level you're just chasing down an enemy and then like fighting them once you get to the boss arena at the end of the level. There was enough variety in the levels and the boss fights to where it just always felt kind of good. And then you sprinkled in like you would replay the same levels but with different objectives in between. So you could earn more medals to unlock new levels. So new levels were gated behind like replaying old levels, but the requirements were never high enough that it felt like you had to grind it out, which was nice. There were like a variety of different weapons, and the weapons all had different like kind of color affinities, I guess, which worked better against like some enemy shield types. And then I think the like final boss fight had, Zerg has too much health for sure, like it goes on longer than it should, but I think it's a very cool concept for a fight. So it's got, you start out with like no money, and you have to beat up on some like regular enemies to earn money to buy weapons, but it's got all of the weapons available to you kind of in a circle. And so I think it's really cool that in a game that has a ton of different weapons that all kind of function differently, like by the time you get there, you're gonna have some that you really enjoyed using. So like you get to kind of pick whatever weapons you want to buy and upgrade for that battle, which I think is a lot of fun. It was pretty quick. It was like 2 hours. So I don't think there was like a ton to it, but it was a fun time. I think I would also put this in A. Party is a little tough to grade because we're playing a single player mode in a Mario Party game, right? Like that's very much not the integral focus. I do think it was a fun single player. It was not very long. I think it was good for like getting a taste of what Mario Party 5 is. So I guess important note, I have not played Mario Party 5 before at all. I've seen like a little bits and pieces of it streamed, but I've never played it. So for me, I think it was cool that I got to like see all the boards, or I think not even all the boards. I think there's more in the whole game, but like a lot of the boards, you got to see a lot of the mini games. Like it was a good, just like sort of, here's a little bit of what the game has to offer without like making you do a full playthrough on every single board, which would have gone on for too long, I think, at least for something like this. I do wish you got to play against some of the other characters instead of just Baby Bowser's. I also wish there were no 4-player games, right? It was all 1v3s, 2v2s, or 1v1s. And in most Mario Party games, at least, like the 4-player games are like kind of, that's the bulk of the games. That's always like the biggest list. And so, you know, it definitely feels like you're missing out on something by not having those. But it was still pretty fun. It was still pretty fun. The rope game is very funny. I'm happy it's in there. I think I played it like 4 times and picked team left every time and just got obliterated every single time. And then even afterwards, so after I cut stream but before I like closed the game, I went into the minigame mode again just to see. I wish I had thought to do this while I was still streaming. and then I like picked the same character. I was Wario again. I played against Baby Bowser again on the same difficulty, and I just kept picking left over and over again and just kept losing every single time. So it makes me think that maybe there's a little more going on behind the scenes there. I think I got to like 10 and then was just finally like, okay, I'm just gonna turn it off and go to bed. But party is good. You know, obviously, if you're playing party multiplayer, it's gonna be like a top tier game. I don't think I can call it that by just playing the single player mode. But I really enjoyed what I played. Playing the single player mode makes me want to play this game in multiplayer. So I think, you know, it's hard to argue against that. I think I would also put this kind of high. Sonic is the next one. So I talked a little bit about this during Beckham, but I played as Sonic, which may have been a mistake. Upon hearing some more details, it sounds like Tails and Knuckles. I don't know about Amy, but Tails and Knuckles at least have some like hovering or gliding abilities that help them get around some of the platforming segments and boss things like that, whereas Sonic just kind of has to just jump his way around. You know, ended up making it through all right. Really only struggled with like the last couple of bosses, and then the one who was the underwater boss also gave me some trouble because you have to like jump onto falling stalactites in order to both breathe. Like you have to manage your air supply and then also not get hit and also hit the boss, which is a lot. Tails makes the game easy. Yeah. That's what I heard. Which is fine. You know, I think that's totally fine to have your characters play differently. It just makes it feel a little bad that it felt like I was struggling so hard. And you know, like most of the game was completely fine. It really ramped up once we got to the rocket level, 6-1, I think it was. Because that's the only level where you have a descending timer instead of a counting up timer. So like you have to get to a checkpoint or to beat the level like before the clock runs out. And that's really tough to do in a Sonic level that's like kind of open, and you're never really sure if you're going in the right direction other than just trying to go upwards. And also you only have 3 lives. And if you know, no matter how many checkpoints you get or whatever, if you game over, it's just back to the start. I think I spent as much time in 6-1 as like the rest of the game combined, probably. It felt that way anyways. I think in general, I was a little bit surprised. I don't have a lot of experience with 2D Sonic games, so I was expecting more of an emphasis on like going fast, because that's kind of Sonic's thing. But it really didn't feel like it. Like you had to be at a complete stop to do like the spin dash, and the spin dash was not very fast. Like just movement wise, it just wasn't. You kind of slowly rolled across the ground. Like the only times you ever really went fast were if you hit a booster pad, and then if you did, the game kind of punished you for it by putting some spikes or enemies or something that like off screen you can't see them coming, but you're going so fast that you're just gonna hit them and stop. And so like, I don't know, I would be interested to see. I know there are more Sonic Advance games, multiple more. There's at least like 2 and 3, maybe even 4. So I would be interested to see more of like if they changed the formula at all, or like if they made like improvements, or if it was just kind of more of the same. But as it stands, I didn't really love this. I think I wouldn't put it down with Arrow, but I would kind of put it a step below everything else that I've said so far. Which was kind of surprising. I'd really, again, not having a lot of experience with 2D Sonics, and coming into this knowing that like tons of people loved the series, I had very high expectations for this. So it might have been just an expectation problem too. I don't know. Next we've got Evil Zone. I loved Evil Zone. I had no idea what to expect. I know that Shoehorse said it was like one of the most stressful games he'd ever played. I think Rio just said it was anime. I think that was the only feedback I heard from Rio. And then I know SafeC like popped off when Rio announced it. So reactions across the spectrum. Had no idea going on. And then I booted it up and I went to the controls page and I saw there was one button for attack and one button for block on a PlayStation controller. And I was like, huh. I still don't know what to expect. But I really, really liked it. From a gameplay perspective, so there's, even with the one button, there's like, if you do any directional input, any of the 4 like cardinal directional inputs with that attack, it's a different attack. And then if you hold the button versus tap the button, it's also different. So there's like 8-ish different moves total, and they're all like basically, at least I played as 2 characters. I played through this game twice. It seems like all of the moves are like what you would call special moves in other games, right? So it's a bunch of ranged attacks, kind of gap closer kind of attacks, command throws, like things that like would be kind of in other fighting games would be like at the bottom of your move list under all like the like normal, neutral combos or whatever. So in practice, what it felt like was that it was just like your characters were just like shooting lasers and missiles and flying around the screen. It made it seem like it was just like a lot going on in a way that felt really cool. It also made it like super easy to learn and get into, right? You don't have to learn 18 button combo. You just like play around with the buttons until you find a cool move, and you do that move and you find another move or two, and then there's your setup. The plot was also really cool. Overall, I have no idea what was going on. This lady on the cover is like the final boss. She's bad, I guess. There's like, if you let it just play at the title screen, like they do a little reading of what's going on. It doesn't really help. At least for me, it didn't really help. But like each individual character has their own individual stories, and it's all based around like each character basically has their own individual TV show, and every fight is like an episode of that TV show, with like in between fights you would have dialogue basically like explaining kind of the premise of the show. So like the first guy I played out was Dan Zyver, who is this kind of Power Ranger armor looking guy, and so he was like his was a very serious story, or pretending to be very serious, where he's here to fight evil and defend the helpless and supreme justice or whatever. And so he's like making these big like grandiose speeches in between his fights. And then the second playthrough I played is Gregman, who is a bounty hunter. And he's married, and he really wants you to know that he's married because he talks about his wife all the time. And all of his in-between segments were just like bantering with his wife, and they would just go back and forth with each other. At one point, like, she like interrupts him talking to be like, "Oh, dinner's ready," and then he just like starts eating as he cuts the rest of his promo. It's fantastic. It really makes me want to go back and just like either play through some more characters or watch some other stories if they're like up on YouTube or something, because it's a wild game. I am a sucker for games that like, I don't want to say don't take themselves seriously, because I do feel like this game takes itself seriously. I think that has like a negative connotation when I say it like that, but like games that like know that they're games and they just lean into that and are willing to just like go full out in a way that like other kind of media wouldn't. I think that's really cool. So this was fantastic for me. I put it in S. Highly recommend. Easily favorite game that I played in the entire event. All right, Four Swords is next. So play this co-op. You have to play it co-op. You can't play this by yourself. With Rio and Spock and Shoehorse. Had a really good time with it. So I owned this. This game came on the Game Boy Advance port of A Link to the Past, which I owned. That was actually the first way that I ever played A Link to the Past. But I never had like a link cable, so I couldn't ever like play this with people. So I always thought this was super cool. A super cool idea, anyways. And it was really neat to be able to actually experience it for the first time. I think the game, because you are required to play it in co-op, I think it does a really good job of kind of I don't know, like it does a good job of like feeling like a game that should be like I don't think it's a game that would work playing it by yourself. I mean, like obviously it wouldn't, in the sense that there are like puzzles that require multiple people cooperating to solve and that kind of thing, but like that's kind of the basis of it. So like the levels, there are only a couple of levels, and they all seemed at least to be kind of partially procedurally generated. Like it was like similar pieces, like maybe you just had like X amount of set pieces and then you put 3 or 4 of them together to kind of make a level. That's kind of what it felt like. And so it was just like sometimes you needed 4 people, sometimes you needed 2 people, sometimes one person could go off on their own, but like you'd have to like throw people across gaps or like pick up stuff together, or like the magnets where you would like attract your partner like through a wall or something and move them up or down across that wall to like help them clear a gap. Just cool stuff like that. I think, but it also like leaned into the chaos a little bit. Like your attacks bounced off of each other, which was a mechanic because that would create sparks, and you'd use that to like light torches and stuff like that. But then also just like you'd get to a boss fight where everybody's swinging away all at once and like bouncing off of each other and like knocking each other around, or like you'd like try to pick up a boulder but you'd be too close to one of your teammates, so you'd accidentally pick them up instead. And you know, it lets you do a little bit of like lighthearted trolling, but then also just like genuine accidents that made it for a funny experience. It's very short. We knocked it out in like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, something like that. But it's because of the procedural generation. It felt like the kind of thing that like you were intended to just kind of do in small spurts, and like you'd play a level, there was a rupee leaderboard at the end of the levels, so like you'd have little mini kind of competitions about who could gather the most. And so it felt like just kind of the thing that like, you know, you're at recess with your friend of yours or something like that, and you'd just play like a level or something. I think it's a very cool game. Had a really good time with it. I think, you know, of course, playing it with friends is, I don't know, I was gonna say playing it with friends like impacts that, but like you have to play with friends. That's the way it was designed. So I don't think, I don't know. All right, scratch that. None of that makes sense. I think this is really good. I had a really good time with it. We're gonna put it in A. We're gonna put it in A. All right, 2 more left. Frogger. I didn't really love Frogger either. This was also a very early game. I played this on like the first or second day. It's grid-based movement, but everything else is moving in kind of real time around you, which is okay at first, but it requires, like, as you go through the game, it requires a lot of precision. There's like moving platforms and conveyor belts, and like it's just really difficult to kind of, I ended up dying a lot because I was not able to process like how my grid-based movement synced up with a moving conveyor belt that was not moving in a grid-based fashion. Like, you jump on a conveyor belt, you're just constantly moving to the left. And so you have to time your jump to the back over to the right, like when you're at a certain point, so that you don't jump too far and like jump off of it or something like that. Also, you have to collect coins to like exit a level, and the levels are like kind of branching to where you'd like come up to like a left-right path, and if you go left, like maybe that's the right way, but there was a coin on the right and you don't realize it until you're like way deeper in the level, and the levels are not built for backtracking. So I don't know, it just didn't really jive with me. I think I also probably hurt me that I was playing Void Stranger at the same time, which is also a grid-based game, but in that game everything is turn-based is not the right word, but like stuff doesn't move until you move. So like whenever you move in a direction in that game, then everything else moves one square as well, so you're able to like kind of plan out what you're doing, which is important because it's a puzzle game. But like I think there was a little bit of dissonance between those two experiences, which probably did not benefit me. Most of the bosses were not bad. The last boss is notable because he has two phases, and the second phase was not good. You have to like step on a button to activate traps and then hope that the boss steps into a trap, but the traps are moving constantly, so like you just kind of have to get lucky that he ends up on a space where a trap ends up. Eventually, like the attempt that I made it through kind of with no problems, but the first like couple of attempts were pretty rough. There was a funny glitch. It's probably my favorite clip from me, at least, of the entire event. In between the two phases of the final boss, you lose control of Frogger because there's a door like between the rooms, and he just sort of automatically hops to the left to like line up with the door, and then hops up to go through the door. I don't know exactly what happened. I think that I was just maybe pressing left when that activated or something. I don't really know, but what happened was my Frogger hopped left and then just kept hopping left and then just kept hopping left and then ran into the wall and was just going left forever. And you've lost control at this point because it's a cutscene. So my boy was just hopping left until I had to reset the console, which was frustrating at the time, but very funny looking back. I think I would also put this in C. It's just not. I think there's kind of a clear delineation of like here, like below this line is like games that I didn't enjoy more than I enjoyed, not counting the didn't play, obviously. And I think I would put Frogger down with these, but Arrow does stand alone here at the bottom for sure. So Beckham is the last one. Just played that. I liked it. Rio definitely picked a game. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what was coming with the hints. We were told that it was a sports game, right? Because this is always like the one sports trash or whatever. Rio seemed really apprehensive in the reveal. We also heard it was like Yoshi's Island at home, which that combined with sports game, I had no idea what was coming. But Rio seemed very apprehensive in the reveal of like, he was like, I don't know, this could be a horrible mistake, it could be fine. I saw like a little bit of Shoehorse playing it, and then watched like a little more Rio doing it earlier today. So it didn't seem like it was too bad. I know Shoehorse, I was playing, I think, Taifu while Shoehorse was playing it, so I wasn't like watching him a lot, but he finished while I was playing, so I didn't think it was like a long game. It was fun. It's fun. It's very simple. It's you're basically just running around with your soccer ball, kicking it into keys that will open the exit, and then kicking your soccer ball into the exit. I think there's like there is some depth to it in that there's different soccer balls, and like some bonuses and that kind of stuff, but like it's all very, very optional. I don't think I ever used a ball that was a different type than just the regular soccer ball. So it's like there's potential there, but it feels unrealized a little bit. But it was fun. I think, rare to say this, but I think the sound design was one of my favorite parts of the game. Very funny sound effects. And the music was nice. You know, very tropical, which makes sense because you're on an island. A lot of steel drums. Beckham does control differently if you've got the ball and if you don't, which I did like that. That did add some like platforming, some just extra platforming juice to it, because like sometimes you would want to platform without the ball and then just call it back to you. You did get a recall ability. I think it was after World 1 or World 2 where you could just like press the shoot button and bring the ball back to you, which was a huge game changer. That not having to go back and like track down your ball makes the game just flow so much better. Very much like real soccer in that aspect. In that one aspect, not having to just like run and go get your ball after you kick it somewhere, very good. None of the bosses were particularly hard. The last boss required the most hits and didn't really have like a indication of like his face changed when you hit him, but it did not make me feel like I was doing damage to him until he started like phase changing a little bit. But even still, it was nothing really. There was nothing like too difficult in this game. It was just kind of a comfy ride, a nice sort of just like coast to the finish line, which was fun. Looking at the games in A, I don't know if I can put it up here. I do think it's kind of a step below them. I think it goes in B. It's close. If I had more rankings, I might put it in between these two, but I don't think it's quite up here. I think I had more fun with all of these than I had with Beckham. It's weird to say, but I think I would have enjoyed it a little more if it was like, I won't say longer, because if it was just more of the same, I don't think that would make it better. But like, if there was any kind of ramp up in difficulty, maybe. Like, I don't want it to be like hard, but like, I don't know. It's tough to say. I think maybe I'm having these feelings because this was the finale for the event. Like, if this was a game that was just like in the red category because he's wearing a red shirt or something, maybe I don't feel that way. I don't know. But I think it's fine in B. I'm happy with that. Looking over the list one more time, I think this makes sense. I think I am happy with all of these, actually. Like I said, I think there's kind of the clear line here. Of stuff that I enjoyed more than didn't. But really, I don't think these two were like that bad. They were just... Arrow is the only one that really just kind of belongs down here at the bottom, I think. But overall a good list. I really had no idea what to expect coming into this. I had played these two games before. I had I'd heard of a couple of these, right? Like I said, I had heard of Four Swords, I'd heard of Mario Party, of course. I had heard of Sonic Advance, and I'd heard of Arrow also, but didn't know anything about Arrow particularly at all. But like most of the list was completely new to me. So definitely apprehensive, but ended up being good. Ended up being a very solid list. I know we're at the end of the month, so I'm not sure if there are a handful more folks who were playing Gamerade stuff. I know Cinny said he wanted to get back to it. It would be cool if some of the other folks did as well, just because I would be interested to see some people hit some of these other games for sure. Yeah, I think with that's another Gamerade in the books. Thanks to Rio, as always, for putting it on, putting together the list and doing the whole reveal and organizing stuff throughout. I know it's no small amount of work, but it's always a lot of fun. For me personally, especially when I have a list of stuff that is mostly new like this, it's a lot of fun just to kind of, you have no idea what you're going to think about. You're probably going to have some kind of distribution like this of like some stuff is just going to click with you more than others. But you never really know what it's going to be. So I think this was fun. I don't think I have too much more to give you here. Does not look like anybody is currently doing Gamerade stuff. I guess I was the last one of the people who were going to finish in the month, so that makes sense. So yeah, I guess that's kind of it. I don't really have any other stream plans in the interim. I've been enjoying this kind of Saturday afternoon slot for most of the year. I think this has been fun. I still have some N64 Mania catch-up stuff to do, so I might try to knock out a couple of those in the weeks coming forward. But other than that, I think I'll let y'all go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks again to Rio. Always a lot of fun. Happy to get this one done. I hope y'all have a good weekend, and probably just see you around on Friday for N64 Mania again. Y'all take it easy.